What's up guys, CJ here and welcome back to another all-new Star Wars video. After the incredible first teaser for The Last Jedi hit the web last week, and especially since I made the video about Luke's potential fall to the dark side in or before Episode 8, there's been a lot more chatter in our comment section and around the web in general about Luke potentially being a Gray Jedi in the new movie. Now, this Gray Jedi theory has some really strong evidence behind it, but it also has some flaws too, especially in light of some comments made by a certain person that would definitely know a thing or two about what's going on. We'll discuss all that in a minute, but first and foremost, for the uninitiated, what is a Gray Jedi? As the name implies, a Gray Jedi blurs the line between light and dark, not beholden to the strict moral purism of the Jedi, but not giving into the malice and evil of the dark side either. These Gray Jedi explored and were capable of powers from either the light and dark, whether they chose to use them or not. Still technically Jedi, the most common definition of the term was a Jedi who lived and worked outside of the structure and rigidity of the Jedi Code, and at arm's length from the Council. However, the term was also used to describe sects and individuals outside the Jedi Order. Throughout the old Legends canon, the new extended universe, and even in the film canon, there are several prominent examples that people point to as Gray Jedi, most notably Ahsoka Tano after she left the Jedi Order in Star Wars Rebels, Jolee Bindo from Knights of the Old Republic, and EU fan favorite Quinlan Vos. Even Obi-Wan's own master, Qui-Gon Jinn, is considered by many to be a Gray Jedi, given some of Kenobi's own comments in The Phantom Menace about Qui-Gon's maverick reputation for going against the will of the Council, as well as some other comments in the rest of the extended universe. But when we turn to the question of whether or not Luke is a Gray Jedi, it's kind of twofold. First, was Luke's new order more gray, so to speak, or did Luke fall into that moral middle ground after his order was destroyed by Kylo Ren? The first question is rooted in the Legends canon, as Luke's new Jedi Order set up in the years after Return of the Jedi was much less rigid than its predecessor, especially emotionally and when it came to personal, sometimes even romantic attachments. This would definitely vibe with the new movies, especially if Rey is in fact a Skywalker, because that would necessitate Luke and his order being a lot more, let's just say, loose than the old one. The second part of the question is more based in the universe set up by the new movies, and especially this latest trailer as we see a Luke much more disillusioned with the Jedi way. This is why so many outlets around the web, and so many people around the world really, are wondering if Luke has fallen to the dark side. However, like most of you in the comments section, while I think it's possible he gave into his anger and fell, I think it's much more likely that in searching for answers on Ahch-To and finding none, he fell into a much more morally gray relationship with the Force, and really the Jedi teachings in general. If this is the case, it could fit with theories that Luke is the titular Last Jedi, and Rey will be the first of a new order, somewhere in between the dark and the light, much like Luke's new order from the EU. But there's some doubt cast on this theory, really doubt on Gray Jedi anything from somebody that would definitely know. Some of you might know Pablo Hidalgo, some of you might not have heard of him, but the quick rundown is that he's a member of Lucasfilm's Story Group, a team dedicated to solving one of the old Legends universe's major problems, essentially keeping the canon story straight. In some tweets from earlier this year, in January actually, Hidalgo addressed the idea of Gray Jedi and why the public is so fascinated with them, both in general and as a potential solution for this question of what Luke's been up to since the destruction of his temple. And they don't necessarily contradict the theory as they're just Pablo's opinion, but they do give you an insight into what one of the main minds behind Star Wars canon thinks about the idea. In one tweet, for example, Hidalgo says, "I don't get the Gray Jedi thing. You're either a Jedi or you're not. It's like being a gray vegetarian who eats meat." He went on to clarify later, "Biggest gripe about the Gray Jedi trope. The dark side comes at a cost. That cost has to be more than it makes me a total badass. Is it possible to tell that story well? Sure. Does it happen? Not often." In his opinion, it's not a scale like this. You either are or aren't a Jedi, and I agree with that in a lot of ways. In general, his dissatisfaction with the term, or the trope as he calls it, seems to partially be its use as a blanket term. For example, in the case of someone like Ahsoka, who he also tweeted about. She wouldn't and shouldn't be considered or called a Jedi because she left the Jedi Order. Does that mean Luke won't be in a more morally gray relationship with the Force in Episode 8? No, not necessarily. But I think it does raise some doubt as to whether he'll actually be called a Gray Jedi in the movie itself. That's gonna do it for me here though. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and of course don't forget to smash that like if you like what you saw, subscribe for more great content every single day, and consider turning on notifications for alerts every time we upload a new video. Signing off, this is CJ, and I'll see you next time.